If I tell you forgotten mechanics, what comes to your mind? In Genshin, there are many mechanics that have characters punctually, sometimes only one, and sometimes little ones which have not been exploited again, But one day they'll come back to the game, or who knows if we'll be without them forever. But there is always doubt as to what would have happened to these mechanics if they had been exploited correctly against new enemies or with characters coming out in the future. So leave a good like, a good Bennett finish, subscribe, leave a good comment for algorithm. Thanks for enjoying and watching the video now. Remember, it costs you nothing. It is totally free, help and position, and recommends the video. We grow a lot, and you know that blessing draws are already active. Once a day, even if I upload 2 videos, it's only once a day I'll draw a bendy 4. And to participate, just give like, subscribe with bell, leave a good comment too. Algorithm, and in the previous video, as long as you are watching a video of YouTube, go look for the previous one because in the fixed comment will be the winner of that blessing. So very lucky, thank you for the love and support, and remember that it's free, that it doesn't cost you anything and it helps a lot. And we're going with the unique, forgotten mechanics Genshin Impact has. Many may still be thinking, Phil, like what unique mechanics? I'm going to give you an example so we can start with something very easy and understand it. How this can extrapolate and evolve. The unique and forgotten mechanics that we've never seen again, and that has, let's say, a lot of lore. Potentia is the petrification of Zhongli. While many characters do things common to each other, like buffering, as for example does, Furina, Nahida, different stats or elements, or for example hitting with different classes of elements also doing damage or making reactions, there are mechanics that only have little ones or character and they are unique. They have not been repeated or they have not returned to. Make good use of it. As I say, Zhongli petrification. Zhongli, when you throw the ulti leaves, the enemy's petrified. It is equivalent to the frozen. And there are very large enemies to whom this does not affect them. Petrification, as can be gigantic bosses, mainly that are immune to CC. Petrifying allows enemies to stay completely still without having to use permafrost, and here I already speculate. It could have been used much more in the future by adding to some future reaction. Geo instead of crystallized, because there was Geo with Pyro, Geo with Hydro, and Geo with someone of the reactions that could give us literally this crystallized, but it was not used again. And he was left alone in Zhongli. Well, what are these mechanics? We start with a very important one that you can take back whenever you want, but that it has not yet been truly exploited, which are mitigations. And you'll say, mitigations? Some will sound, because when I talk about Xinkyu, I talk about this, and in old videos I talk about. But if you read the elementary ability of Xinkyu, there appears a text that says that it's going to eliminate or reduce damage in a proportion to your total hydro damage bonus. The mitigations to this day, and that I remember correcting myself if I'm wrong, have it for characters that are Jingyu Geidu also gives you, I think it is 35% mitigations. Jin, with its chicks, also gives you mitigations, and Daya also has mitigations to the character in it. DGR makes the character in the field get less damage than it should without need to carry a shield. Mitigations in many video games are exactly that, receiving a smaller amount that you should. This so far is very simple, and you will say, Phil, if a team of Xinkyu Baidu, Daya, I'm not going to get hurt. Prove it to see what happens. And the reality is you're not going to get hurt. And not only that, but Xing Chix is very complicated, but if you combine the 4, you get more. 100% mitigations, and who has the possibility to play Guajin Chix? DIA, Xing, Q, and Baidu. Perhaps you lack the damage for some rooms, specifically of the Abyss, but without having to have a shield, you will see that you will not be harmed. This has not been used again in Genshin Impact because indeed, if in the future, it combines some team of Q, Baidu, and other mitigation character, that actually, the team as such is a goal team, or a so-called goal of the top best teams in the game. You can have literally invulnerability without relying on a healer and without depending on a shield. So this is one of the mechanics that hasn't been used again. Next mechanical unique and forgotten, that there is a character that has it and you don't know. He's got it. The parries. Many of you come from other video games where there are skivs or perfect counterattacks like that. God of War, the Dark Souls, and in Genshin, if there is a parry mechanics they have since in the beginning of the game, specifically Beidou, which was later also included, to Yunjin, who no one uses, and for whom he does not know, he also uses Candace. Candace also has parry mechanics, the perfect timing for maximum damage, over elemental, and has not been used again in a very strong way. We don't know if any future parry will be in development, that if you make a perfect parry, allows us to do 1,000,000 damage, but only if you do it right at the time. But with it, the local legends of NATLAN, with a couple of them that will be here on screen, have taught that they still keep in mind this mechanics, that it still exists, and that perhaps they're still testing her for maybe in the future to bring us some character she makes parries. But the parries, that is to say to counterattack or dodge or give it a button exactly at the precise moment of receiving a hit, it is a very normal mechanics in a lot of video games, and that I personally believe that it is not going to be ruled out, that it is not dangerous, unlike mitigations, and that tomorrow will surely bring us a parry. Maybe he'll do a really big damage if you make a perfect parry. Next, mechanical, there are several that have not exploited properly in Genshin, and in this, if it is unique to a single character and is the bubbles or CC of a bubble that high. You'll say that, wait, what about the Hydro Magicians? Yeah, fellas, the Hydro Wizards of the Abyss. It turns out that Shishwine, a character who is practically completely in disuse, who in the end does not, came to bring literally nothing, and although many thought that the Vital Covenant was going to be, and it also has some logic for the theme of the Kingdom of the Night, for the theme of, well, you know NATLAN's lore. Basically, it ended up being the NATLAN. The noctambulism points in the end changed it minimally and did something else in NATLAN. But Shishwine, who also has to do with the Vital Pact, didn't end up squaring, but it left us a curious mechanics that are to imprison little enemies in bubbles. This opens the door for us tomorrow, apparently, because I understand that the more new characters who have some kind of future mechanics of imprisoning or retaining enemies, as much as with the crystallized songly that leaves the enemies petrified. Like Shishwine's bubble. Can it be repeated? Yeah. Has this been used again? No. You play with Shishwine and it's useful? The truth is no, because there is the same problem and limitation that against enemies. Very large immune to CC does not work. Next, mechanic. There's plenty, huh? What do you think they are? No. There's a lot of them. Take it easy. In fact, leave me in the comments so far if you like it, and leave me in the comments which one you think is still missing. The next mechanics is the taunt. Yeah, folks, I just unlocked a memory of the main Mona, surely. There's a mechanics in the game that's called taunt, and it's that the enemies are going to hit something, a construction that sometimes has life and sometimes not, like Ganyu or Liney. That their taunts have life. But this has not been exploited very well, and today is not counted as an additional contribution, for a very simple reason, and is that the AI of the aggro of the enemies. The aggro means to what they're carding to hit, that is, what they're focusing on, what they're really that they're looking at. That is you, to hit you, or the taunt itself. Well, this AI of the enemies, I don't know if it's more or less programmed or the aggro yet. They are working at all because according to some enemies they have very easy to lose. The aggro, others not, equal to the best, are working the different taunts. For that, tomorrow, take out a character with a taunt, and have that taunt have some kind of full priority in the aggro, that is, always the enemies suddenly post to this taunt. And what is the taunt? Did you say the same word to them 80 times? Well, that's right. Mona has her elementary ability, which is an illusion of water, which basically says that the enemies are going to hit and throw elementals and skills and everything they have towards this illusion. Water is decoying them. For example, Ganyu with his elementary ability also makes taunt. The flower of Ganyu also causes it to receive blows from enemies. A little that I miss, that when they are reduced it explodes. Inai's hat's in the field if you have Inai's cone, double hat too. The ulti of the Inet is also an infinite taunt that does not depend on life, although the enemies, they tend to be distracted enough and not used. And there are some extra taunts in the game, as in theory Oloran's ulti that also he'll taunt the enemies, But as I say, it's another mechanics that today isn't very exploited and doesn't tell, really, as an additional contribution. No more value is counted on the iNet, or Mona is not counted more value just for having this. Taunt because you throw it away and you know it's a thing that moves, and sometimes enemies, they hit. But normally the enemies have a still a little bit not so well worked program with these taunts, and they're gonna hit you. And the last forgotten mechanics of the characters of Genshin Impact is being able to make 2 hits from different elements that we're going to rescue with Chaska. I mean, come on, and people will say, come on, you're CEO. Turns out there are little characters that can combine 2 elements to make different sources of damage, including Uela that can make physical and cryo to make reactions. Super Driver that couldn't be taken advantage of course. It has also been tried to test this with the Anemos, mainly with Kazuha, who is it. That has a lighter under the skirt, and that always puts Pyro Mr. Kazuha and some other characters that can hit with 2 elements. Chaska will now come in NATLAN and is a character who will not only combine 2 elements, but it's going to be able to hit 4 different elements. The Anemo and 3 elements that are on your computer, like the Electro, the Hydro, or the Pyro. In another video later, I will comment on all this and talk about Chaska, because it is saying that it is very, very, very bad because it is difficult to focus on doing good harm with arm. All this because you should wear as a worm of different elements, because you imbue yourself different elements and multi-hit beams. Maybe you should take mastery, because by doing many multi-hits, you do a lot of reactions. With Chaska and the reaction damage, maybe that it can work, which would combine better. Or worse with certain supports, because it's difficult to consider how you're going to do the damage. Chaska herself making hits of many elements. But the mechanics that a single character hits with different elements is something that, apart from Chaska, Kazuha, and Yula, and something, as I say very punctually in everything, the game has not been made further, and in the future I do not know if there will be characters that combine 2 elements even in her vision. Possibly not, she's just a smoke, but capable. If you work with more characters in Genshin than if you do more different elements in it. The same composition, in the same character development, in the same programming of the character's skills, as is the case with Chaska. We'll talk about Chaska in the future, but at least they still want this mechanics. Maintaining that one day we have, as I say, characters that he himself can apply Hydro, and that same character can vaporize, as you can sometimes do when you have characters that you are imbued with an element, such as Candace or Bennett's Chicks with some characters, or some burn equipment with Emily, for example. Emily Fiorina Siangling Bennett with Emilia Pasting or Fiorina Pasting, Pyro Vazit, so that then Fiorina out of the field. Vaporize on the Burndy, little more. I know that the last point you liked has surprised you very much, and truth is, it's a hidden mechanics that wasn't used much in Genshin, and that's gonna come with Chaska. And I hope you liked this video very much. We broke our heads in the channel team and the creative part, so I can bring you something so really that is linked to Chaska with what is going to come with things that are really leaving in disuse, and which are also curious to the community. So I hope that originality and you like it very much. The video has been entertained a lot, and a little bit more, like I say. Leave a good like, a good news, Bennett. Subscribe you to leave a good comment for the algorithm. Thanks for enjoying and watching the video, and the channel remembered for participate for the blessing. Just let like, subscribe with bell, and comment for algorithm and review videos you haven't seen before to search for the winner, either on the fixed or inside the video. And little more, take care of yourself very good. I don't know about me neither, and I don't know about it.